Hi, how are you? I hope you're all doing really well. Welcome back to my channel. I have been really inspired this week by another channel that I have come across on YouTube, and that channel is called Sunset Crafts and More, and I think the lady on the channel is called Maggie. It's a channel I've only just recently come across. She was making these really cute booklets for tickets, and it just really inspired me to have a go. I did leave a comment on her video saying how much she had inspired me and that I was going to have a go at making some. So hi Maggie, thank you so much for the idea. This is my take on what she was doing. I will of course link her video down below. And I have been using stamps and scrapbook paper to create these ticket booklets. I think, are they called matchstick books or cigarette books? I can't quite remember. This is the first one I made. So that was this. That's the back, just various stickers. And I made some, if you remember when I was doing this, I wanted to find a charm. And I couldn't find one, so I ended up using my little round alphabet stickers that I had on one of the video. I did share them with you, and I made a little charm for there. So that's one of those. Various various stamps. These are my collaged, I think I call them stamped labels, these ones. So they were dead easy to decorate. Just stuck a label on and it was done basically. So that's number one. Then I think this was the next one. This caused me all sorts of problems, but I got there in the end. Again, just some stamping, some labels I made from a magazine. That's the back. That's one of those stickers. That's the inside of this one. Okay, so that's the ticket on there. Then I did this one, which is I think out of all of them, they're my favourite. So this paper was mostly plain, so I did mostly stamping on there. This is a label I made from a Domino's menu, believe it or not, one that came through my door. And this is what the back looks like, lots of stamping again. Open it up, this is the inside. And then we have our tickets here. And then this is the one I did yesterday. Same principle, same type of thing, stamping on the front, that's one of the long stickers again. That's what the back looks like. Scraps of the Tim Holtz paper, Tim Holtz tape here, and another label I made from a Domino's menu. Bit of stamping. And then on the inside of this one, oh, it's another one of those charms there as well. On the inside of this one, I have doubled it up to create two different types of tickets. And then I just put this at the top of there. So I'm going to make another one today, because once you get into the swing of these, they're quite addictive, and there's all sorts of variations and styles that you can do. So I thought we would make another one together. The stamps that I've been using are a variety of different ones. So I've chosen a few from this one here. I've used this one here. I can't remember who this is by, but I love it. It's a great stamp. I've got some ticket ones here that I've used. This one is one that I used, and I think I did this one. This is from the Heidi Swap Stamp Society. I've used quite a lot of the words from this one and the various numbers. And this one at the top I used as well. So I did use a variety of different ones, and I just combined them. And as I said before, I used my stamped labels. If you are interested to know how I made these, I will link the video down below. And I have also been using these vintage classic labels, which I got from the shop. You've probably heard of it. It's all over YouTube at the moment. It's called Temu. And this video isn't sponsored or anything, but I found these and they're great. So I've been using a few of these as well. And the paper I'm using is this natural kind of, I think it's at school we used to call it sugar paper. And I've been having a massive clear out of my craft room. It's an absolute tip behind me. But I came across this, which I completely forgot I had. So there's like a yellowy one and a pinky one. I'm going to use the pinky colour today. And the ink I've been using is the archival ink. I've also used a little bit of this rocket red as well. And some distress oxide, distress inks to distress the paper how I normally would. So I have my stamp ready, I have my paper, I've got a pencil. And the first thing I'm going to think about is the height of the stamp so that I can cut a strip. So I'm going to put the stamp on, I'm going to make sure you are where you can clearly see. And I'm going to pop it onto there, and I want to leave a little bit of a border around the edge. So I'm pop that on like that, and I'm going to put, I'm not going to be overly accurate, I'm going to put a little mark about there, and I'm going to cut a strip all the way across. So I've got my strip, my stamp is here, and I'm just going to take a look at my ticket, how it's going to stamp out, to decide where I want to leave the space for the extra bit at the top where we're going to attach it. And I think I want this number at the top, so it would sit this way around, like that. And here's my number. I'm going to allow some extra space here where I can make this part, and I'll show you on here where I can make this part. Okay, so we just want to leave some extra paper at the top. I'm going to perforate it and then they can be ripped out. So there's my mark there. I'm going to cut down here, and then to make sure I get the same size, I'm just going to line it up like that and put a mark. And will I get another one? Yeah, I'll just get another one so I can just cut that in half. And I should end up with 3 bits of paper which are round about the same depth and the same length. Now I have been doing about 5 in each packet because 3 doesn't give you a lot really. So I'm just going to go ahead, and I might do some in this colour, mix and match them. I've done that on one of the others. I think it was this one here. Oops. I've done some yellowy ones. There's the pinky one and that's the yellowy one. There's not a massive difference once it's inked, but it does make a difference. So I think I will use a scrap of this. Just going to put it on. Measure where I need the length to be. I'm going to cut that, and I'm just going to make an indication there of where I want each one to stop. So I'll go off and do that. I've managed to get 3 out of the yellow bit, so I've got 3 there, 3 here, so that's a good number. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Vintage Photo Distress ink. It's not that, yeah, this one. I'm going to ink front and back using one of these. Scrap piece of paper to protect my desk. Vintage Photo. And just use my normal technique of starting on the paper and moving in towards the thing I actually want to apply the ink to. Just helps it to blend a little bit better. But to be honest, once everything's stamped, even if it does go a little bit smudgy or you apply too much in one, in one space, you can't tell anyway, so it's not a massive deal. I could do with replacing this. So This is what I did on all of them. And it just starts to give it that aged look. Okay, so that's like the pinky paper. And this is what the yellowish paper looks like. By the time we've put the ink on, there's not a massive difference. But it's just nice to add a bit of variety, I think. I like to leave the middle bit a little bit lighter. So once I'd done those front and back, I then got my Distress Oxide ground espresso and just using one of these sponges again, I then went round to define the edges a little bit more. And then when I got to the corners, just a little bit of a flick to give it some definition. And this just frames the ticket a little bit. You can do it as much or as little as you want, but you can see the difference just by having that little bit of a frame. It's what I like anyway. I mean, you might not want to ink it at all. You might have some pattern paper that you're using. You don't need to do any inking. Okay, so that's the pinkish colour. And then I'll quickly show you the yellowish colour. And I've done front and back with this as well. So this is what it's looking like. I'm going to go off now and do exactly the same thing to the other tickets. Next is the stamping. So I've got my ink ready, my stamp on my stamping block. Got the protected paper and I've just put down some foam as well just to help with the impression. Going to load up my stamp with some ink. And I've never used this stamp before, so I'm going to do just a little bit of a practice stamp as well on here. Can you see what I'm doing? Lovely. Now that bit at the top, I think it's supposed to look like that. I can see it on the stamp. It's supposed to be a bit worn and rustic looking. So I'm going to stamp on here and I'm going to make sure that I put the number with the G, so the G, whatever number it was, on this side, because if you remember me saying I wanted it to be seen near the top. So some ink down. You don't have to do these in black. You can do, I think I've done all of mine in black, but you could do any colour really. And I'm going to make sure that I can look over. I'm going to place the stamp, so I'm going to try and get as even as possible a border between here, here and here, which is the same size. So I'm just going to, before I place it down, double check it. I don't want it too far this way because I still want to allow room to put a stamp up that end. And if it's not perfect, you know, I've not been bothering too much. There we go. So I'm going to do that on all of them. I tend to just pop one there. And then I can kind of just make sure I'm getting it around about the same, because we're going to perforate them all. And we want them to be perforated in the same place so that we don't cut off any of the... So we don't cut off any of the stamp. I'm just going to do this on all of them. They're all stamped and I've just bundled them together. Now this is where, if you've got a couple of clips or a paper clip, they might come in handy, because we want the stamp. Sorry, we want the paper to be together down this end and together at the sides as well, because we're going to perforate them now. That one's a lot shorter, I don't know how that happened. And we need them together down this end because this is where we're going to do the perforation and this is where we're going to put the number. So why have I got a short one there? Okay, I'm going to put the short one there. Then I know I've not chopped anything off. So I'm going to do that, okay, and just pop a couple of clips on. And then what I've been doing is getting my ruler, getting a pencil and just drawing a straight line where I want the perforation to go, and I could probably go a little bit closer. I want to leave about the same distance from this border here and the one at the top. So I'm going to draw a line about here. I'm just going to quickly check that that wouldn't cut anything off, which it doesn't. And then Maggie used a perforating machine. I don't have one. So what I've been doing is using that as a guide, getting my awl and then just going through and piercing little holes along this guideline that I've drawn for myself. And it quite easily goes through with the awl, goes through the paper. I would suggest putting something down like this foam or an old book, so you're not going into your table. And then you just perforate through. You can see it's gone through to the back as well. So keep it clipped together, and we want to go about halfway in to the circle, and we want where we've done the perforation, the little dot, to be kind of midway. Okay, so we're going to do that on both sides. So about halfway. Okay, that gives us our little ticket shape, and we can then undo them. We can now get any ink, if you've used any ink, so I use the espresso. We can just ink those up if we want to, and also you can do that on this one. The first one that I did, I used like a stripy stamp just to show where the perforation was, which I think looks quite nice. So yeah, we can now just, is that just one? We can now just tidy these up. You don't necessarily have to ink here. On one, I don't think I have done on all of them. I think I meant to, but I forgot. So I'm going to go for registered, and I think I'm going to do it in red to make it stand out a little bit. I'm just going to give it a test stamp to see how it comes up. It's quite juicy, this colour, but it stamps nicely. I'm looking for a red Distress Oxide or Distress Ink, but there's quite a few different colours of red. So if anyone has any suggestions for a red, the Tim Holtz one, which is quite a traditional, what you would see on, you know, like on vintage tickets, just let me, if you could just pop it down below, that would be great. Because I'm a bit overwhelmed with the choice, and it's difficult, isn't it, unless you see it in person or you've used it. The colour doesn't always look the same. So I'm going to make sure I'm looking right over my stamps, get it in the right place. I'm going to try and get a flat piece. Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, great. I'm going to do that on all of them. So this is the basic ticket done. Now, if you want to, you can go more elaborate. It's not that one. Like this one, and do some extra bits of stamping just to bring the tickets to life a little bit. So you can do what you want. I added some barcodes onto here. And some extra little numbers and dates, or you can just leave your ticket as is. I think I am going to add a tiny bit of red because just to balance it out. I think that red really pops, so I just want to bring it in somewhere else. So what I think I might do actually is get one of these little numbers from the Heidi Swap Stamp Society. I'm just going to pop a little number down the side. I think I'll use the red again. And I'm not going to be bothered about getting it perfect or dead straight. I'm going to want it to make it kind of look like it's been stamped and approved, or, you know, registered. So maybe about there. Pop a little number on. Do it a little bit lighter so it just looks like someone's quickly done it. Gives that little bit of an aged effect. And these are our finished tickets, and we can now go ahead and start thinking about putting them into our cover. You can use whatever you want for your cover. You can use some Tim Holtz paper, decorative paper. I've actually decided to use this. My dad's been cleaning out the attic, well, it was a few months ago now, and these are my old, I've got quite a stack of old document wallets. You can see UCAS is when I was applying to university. Don't know why I was drawing 3D shapes, but I was. And I think I may actually use this because it's really nicely worn and aged. It's already got that yellowy browny tinge to it. So I think it'd just be quite interesting to use this. So I'm wondering which bit to use. When you do this, you need it long enough to flip up this way. I'm going to do it this way, I think, then that'll cut off that. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this slice off here. I'm going to just cut it down a little bit here so that it fits into my cutter. Yeah, and then I'll be good to go. So I've got my piece cut, and I'm going to put it onto here. Now, the reason I had a disaster with this one here is because I didn't leave enough room either side, and it was really difficult to glue it shut. So I'm going to think about that on this one. So just kind of bear that in mind while you're doing yours. Get your ticket. You want a little bit of room at the top. You're going to staple this in. And you want a reasonable room at the sides because you want to be able to put some glue here. So I'm going to leave more than what I think I need. Again, I'm just going to put a rough pencil mark and I'm going to slice down here. Then I'm going to put my ticket back on. My ticket's going to sit about there. And I want this bit to fold up so that it leaves a little bit of a gap because I don't want this bottom bit of the tickets to be crammed in. So I want to fold it. I'm going to try and do it so you can see. I want to try and fold it about there, so it's got a bit of a gap. So I've made a tiny bit of a mark and I'm just going to do a bit of a score on here of where I kind of want it folding up. So I would say about there. You don't have to score it, I'm just doing it to help myself. So that's a score. That can be folded up. And if we look now, that should fold. I'll try and show you from the side. It should fold with enough space for the ticket so that the ticket isn't squashed down here at the bottom. Can you see? There's the fold, and that's where the ticket will sit. Then I'm going to fold up and I'm going to decide how far up I want it to come. I don't like mine too far, but I'm going to kind of just do it longer for the moment. I hope I'm explaining this right. It's a little bit fiddly this because it's one of those kind of trial and error things. So I'm gonna cut it about there and that looks about right to me. I'm gonna round these corners using the small rounder onto this one. And I'm going to distress all the way around. It's going to make sure once my ticket's back in and I've rounded it, it's going to cover it all right, which it is. So let's get this distressed. I'm going quite heavy-ish with the ink and bringing it in a little bit just to decorate kind of this back section. Don't need to do this bit because that's not going to be seen. That's going to be stuck down like that. And do the back as well. So there's the base. So now we need to get our tickets into here. This is the way I do it anyway. And I think this is the way Maggie did it. We're actually going to staple our tickets in before we make the flippy bit, because then the flippy bit, it will cover the staples. So again, if you've got any clips, now is a good time to clip them together. I'm just going to decide the order which I want mine. I think that will do. And I've just been using my normal size stapler, putting it about there, making sure that it's about middle on the back. And stapling. And that can be removed. Okay, and that will stick on there like that. Now, it depends. I could now use some patterned paper. I could back it with some patterned paper if I wanted to. If you wanted to put some stamping on the back of here, that would be a good time to do it before you do the stapling in. You could now use a piece of like the Tim Holtz or something like that. I quite like that word document coming over, and I quite like the fact that I've got my drawings, because it's just a reminder of when I was at school. So I might actually put that on the inside like this. This is about the same width, which is good, and what I've found the best is to just kind of have it the same length as this one, and then you can cut it to where you need it. I want this at the top, so it's going to come across like that. So just to make sure I've got the width, all I'm going to do is pop it on there make a mark where that ends and cut that tiny bit off. That should be the same width now, which it is. And we're just going to use that back bit to cover here, like that. So we only need glue to round about just over those staples. And I've been using some tacky glue just past where those staples come, and I've been putting, you know, a fair amount on, especially at the ends. And because this is tacky glue, it will slide a little bit. So what I do is place it on, make sure it's going to come round the way I want it. I place it on, I let it sit for a couple of seconds before I start manoeuvring it, so it doesn't slide about so much. So I just pop it on like that. Make sure it you know, it takes, the surfaces take to each other. And then I can start cleaning it up, and that will just prevent it from moving too much. Make sure it's stuck down, turn it round, make sure it's stuck in the back. Clean up any spillage. Give it a little burnish. What you can do if you don't want the join there is later you can always put a sticker or some washi tape over that bit. You can also just use one really long piece of paper and not join the two together. However, you would see your staples if you did that. But again, you could just use a sticker to cover that over, or you might not be bothered with the staples, you know. Doesn't particularly bother me have seen the staples. So once that's glued down, we're then gonna leave a little bit of a gap again, so that we've got space to fold it over again without touching our stickers or our tickets or interfering with those. So I'm popping that back on, and again I'm just going to do a tiny score just to help me know where to fold. That glue should be stuck down by now. I'm going to fold along there, and I'm just going to kind of curve it rather than kind of do like a harsh fold. I just think it looks a bit neater, and it just gives the tickets a little bit of room there. And then popping this flap down like that, popping that down there. I'm just going to see how far I want it to come down to, which probably would be about there. So I've made a little mark. Going to check it. And that fits nicely. I think we could even maybe go slightly shorter, just by a little bit. I mean, just slightly. Going to round those edges with the little one again. And I'm going to ink that as well. It's quite nice because this is, obviously I've used this when I was at sixth form, which is, if you're in America, I'm not quite sure what the equivalent is, but it's where you go ages 16 to 18 before you go off to university and after you have finished your GCSEs at high school. This is from then, that time of my life. So it's quite nice. This is a bus ticket, so it's almost like a school bus type thing, which I think is quite a nice touch. So that's inked. And the last thing to do regarding this is just to put a tiny bit of ink here and here and stick it down. I'm going to make sure the tickets are out the way so that they don't get stuck down as well. And it's going to put a bit here. You don't want too much. And a bit here. And I'm going to just hold that down. If you want, you can get your clips and just kind of clip them down. I feel like I've done quite a bit of waffling and moving about today, But it really is just one of those kind of trial and errors, making sure everything sticks in, fits, doesn't come apart. I'm going to just make sure these tickets stick now that I've glued them in. So yeah, it is just one of those things. So it just sound like, I hope it's not come across as me doing too much faffing. It's just been a case of me kind of working out everything. So there's our basic construction for our ticket holder. Now we can start decorating them. Now you can do whatever you want. You can just kind of put some stickers on. You can stamp all over like I have done. You can do a combination of things. Again, because I have them and I like them and I've made them and I want to use them, I'm going to use my, stamped labels, and I may use some of these ones as well. So, and I might do some extra stamping. I'm going to choose something that I think would look nice on this front. So I've got some red. I have some red and I have the black and obviously the green. I don't have any green on here. I quite like this one where it says explained. So what I'm going to do is, do I want it that side or that side? Maybe this side. And what I might do is flick it over to the back, and then that decorates the back a little bit as well. So sticking that on. As you can see, I smudged it a little bit when I was making these, so I'll probably just cover that with something. Okay, so when that's stuck in there like that, that's part of our decorating done. Also, it covers up that little bit. I'll probably put some washi on there. Now we can choose a stamp to go down the centre, to go down the side. I've really been liking these for doing these filling in bits. And I think one way would look nice because it's like a bus ticket. So I'm going to take this off. If I can remember where I got these from, it was a UK store online, but I can't remember the make. If I can remember, I will put it down in the description, because if you're watching this video, you probably like my style or have a similar style to me, and I'm guessing you will probably like these. And okay, so that looks nice on there. So what I keep doing as well is that I'll just keep putting it down, seeing what it looks like, so I can see the placement of everything. I've just popped that one there. I forgot to switch my camera on, but that's that. And I'm just going to check the placement. Okay, so that's looking nice like that. And I want something to go in this space here. So I keep looking. I'm going to put a ticket there, I think. Now this probably won't be seen when it's tucked in, but it will be seen obviously when you lift it out. Then these are the Heidi Swap Stamp Society. It's a monthly subscription and you get a set of stamps every month. I've been really impressed with the ones I've had so far, but they're a bit sticky. There you go, so that's ticket on there. I've got lots of different interesting labels. So I've got these, which are really nice for popping on the inside or on the back. I've got some blue ones. I have these ones, and these are kind of I think that might be either really dark brown or a really dark green, but these are all different ones. And I got these labels which came with some jars or something. They're for labelling, obviously labelling the jars, but so I didn't use them for that. I think I've used one of them in here and just did some stamping on. So I think I might use maybe a red label on here. We'll tie the red in. Yeah, when you open it up, it'll tie the red in. So I'm going to put a red label there. Probably do some stamping on that. And just with my vintage photo, just going to dull it down a little bit. Like that. And so now, really, I'm just going to enjoy the process of stamping it up, decorating it, seeing what I can find to add to it. So I won't show you all of it in normal speed because that will take forever. So I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the process and that you can stay with me while I finish this project off. And I will see you soon. So sorry, my storage was full on my camera. I don't know how much you've seen, but hopefully you've not missed too much. This is what we're looking like in a minute. This is the front, and then that's the back. Just put a bit of washi tape and some stamping on there. So I'm going to continue. I've done nothing on the inside yet, and apologies again, I hope you've not missed too much. I've had a bit of a disaster. My camera just didn't record any of the last bit of decorating this. I'm so sorry. I just don't know what's been going on with it, but obviously it's decided to have some kind of meltdown today. So I thought, and fingers crossed, this video will record that I will show you what it looks like now that I'm finished. To be honest, I haven't done loads more than what I'd already done. It's just, you know, it was just a bit more of the same, some stamping, some labels, this, that and the other. So this is what the front's looking like. And I thought that it needed lifting a little bit on the front, so I added some plain labels that I already had stamped. This is one of the tickets I made a couple of videos back, which I've popped on the front there. I put a little bit of stamping on this label, some bits of washi tape as well, and then opening up, I have just done some stamping on the inside and put a sticky label in. I wanted it to kind of look like, because this is like a bus ticket, I wanted it to kind of look like maybe this was like a bus ticket holder or like document wallet where you have like your days of the week and maybe a couple of stars to mark off that you've been on the bus. Just that type of stuff really. And then on the back, I did have some thick washi tape, some black and white washi tape, but I didn't like it, so I took it off. It did take up some of the folder here. However, I do actually quite like that, and I've just inked it up. I think it looks really old and worn. Put a sticker on, a little bit of distressing here, and that's what we're looking like on the back. So I've really enjoyed doing these. They're all different, but also they all kind of have like a similar look to them. Thank you again to Sunset Crafts and More for the idea. Don't forget to check out her video. I will link it below. And sorry again for not being able to show you the full process, but I will take lots of pictures and put them onto the end of the video. So until next time, take really good care of yourselves, and I'll see you then. Bye.